Hello and welcome to Breakfast at Mom's. I'm Mom, aka Sandra, and these are my daughters, Candace and Alyssa, and these beauties are my daughter-in-laws, Brooks and Felisha. And we are so glad that you're here to join us with our online community of women where we come together every week to discuss things that we all face as women on a day-to-day basis. And so this week, we are going to spill the tea, as they say, with Felisha as our moderator. And what are we talking about this week?
We are talking about family expectations and how to set boundaries with them.
Yikes.
It's one of those things that I think like you can step on people's toes because I think all of us, we absolutely love our family. Yeah. So when things come up, we don't want to address them because we feel like we're saying something wrong or we're offending them. And so it's a very like touchy subject, but I want to give our friends out there just kind of a definition of family expectations. Cause honestly, it was one of those words that like, I knew what it meant, but I could not like describe it in words. Okay. Family expectations is defined as pressure exerted on children by parents in order for them to live the way the parents want them to.
Wow.
So to kind of just give everyone a glimpse of our family dynamics, I just like kind of want to go around and everybody real quick tell us about your dynamic.
So I come from a house that was a mom and dad and siblings. My parents separated when I left to go to college. And then Brandon obviously comes from mom and dad, but was a child of mom's prior. So we came together as a family unit. So it's me, my husband, and King.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I come from mom, dad, and this family. Dale also comes from a very large family. Both of his parents and my parents are still married, which I think in this day and age is almost rare. But yeah, we were both raised in Christian households, and then we came together, and it's myself, him, and then we have our daughter Bella and our son Baby Dale.
Baby Dale.
Dale. Hi. Our family is, I came a kid from a divorce. So my dad and my birth mom separated when I was like 2. So this has been my mom ever since. And then also Colby's parents just recently remarried. So they're remarried and rekindled. So I and Colby are together, but also Colby was married beforehand and he and his wife were divorced. And so I have a like bonus mom over on that side. So Tabitha takes care of is Roxy's mom and we have Colby and me. So Roxy has her mom, a bonus mom, and then her dad.
Yes. And I came from parents.
From human beings.
My mom passed away, unfortunately, in 2020. My dad is still alive. I have a lot of sisters. And then when I had Brandon, I was a single mom with Brandon, and then I met Rick, and he had Candace, and then we all came together and had a family, and together then we had Alyssa and Trevor. But we've never felt that way because we've never used the word stepmom, stepdad. It's always been mom, dad, your sisters, your brothers. It's never been differently, though I recognize that some people have that way, but it just so happened that Brandon's biological father was never in the picture and your mom was not in the picture after a certain amount of time. So we raised them together.
For me, my parents, I come from a divorced family. My mom ended up leaving when I was 15, and then my dad and stepmom, they've been together since I was 5. So like I've grew up with, Debbie. And then Trevor's parents, mom and dad, they're still together. And then Trevor and I have a 9-year-old son, which is his from a previous marriage. And then we have a 3-year-old daughter. So with all of these just like different, with divorces, with remarriages, like there are just a lot of
families.
Other families. There are dynamics and people are people and we're going to disagree. And how do we handle that in a way that respects what you set the tone for your family, but also respects other family members. And so I did some research on this, and this is actually a hot topic. And so I asked our friends online, I asked y'all, I said, hey, like, I really want to know, what are you struggling with? So we can maybe walk through that with you. And one of the things that I really found while studying about this is Dr. Henry Cloud's book, Boundaries. And he talks about how boundaries are like, think of property. You own a piece of land and you're responsible for that piece of land. You're responsible for paying the taxes, for your home, for anything that happens on that piece of property, you're responsible for. Anything outside of that is not your responsibility. And that's good. Right. That's boundaries. You set the boundaries, you're responsible for this. Anything people do outside of your boundaries, that's on them. So with that, I have these fun questions. So the first one is
like we need some dramatic music.
Okay, the first one is from Mackenzie. Mackenzie says, my husband's family constantly makes demeaning comments to him. How do I stand up for him without being disrespectful?
Wow.
That's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. And I think, Mackenzie, great for you for recognizing that and seeing those, I hate to say them flaws, but in that family dynamic. I think that you are your husband's teammate. You are, essentially it's you and him, now as you're married. And I think that you can be vocal about it in a way that's respectful. You can correct in the situation in a certain tone and a certain aspect. But I think you also have to remember is that you can't control their actions. You can only control your response to them. So your response can be respectful and it can be, hey, like, let's stop this. Or it can be, if it needs to be more drastic of like removing yourself from that situation, that's up to where you guys are at. But I think it's just that, you have to feel out that situation. But I think that just remembering that you are a team with your husband and that just as much as he needs, if he can't stand up for himself in that situation, that, you're allowed to in those moments.
That's good.
That's really good.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of the verse in the Bible where it talks about like honoring your parents. I think a lot of times people get scared because that verse is in there. Am I still honoring them whenever I disagree with them? But it also tells us that when we get married, we cling to that person
shall become one.
and we leave our family.
But it also, the scripture that tells us about, as parents, not to, push our children to wrath and how that actually goes. But so we have so there's a responsibility on all sides. You're responsible as a parent, even a parent who is of an adult child, and as much as you are a parent to your children. So
I'm not looking forward.
We don't want to.
Okay. The next question comes from Amanda. Amanda is getting married. Congratulations.
Yay.
She says, I'm getting married and my parents are paying for my wedding. How do I say no to things I do not want, but they are insisting?
I should be your mom. No, I'm kidding.
Yes. True though. Best wedding planner ever.
Yes, because both of my daughters are married. And for me, as a mom, we paid for that wedding and both for those weddings. And I tried to remember that it is their wedding. So, if they had a budget, then I would say, here's your budget and you can stay in that budget. Or for me, I always said, do you like this or this? Or, you have to make a choice on that. I feel I was good about that.
Yeah,
so
you're very open about it. You're like, if there's something, please don't.
Right. Tell me if you don't. So, but her situation is a little different. She is wanting to say to her mom. So I think that you're going to have to be honest with her. Don't do it when you're upset. Don't do it when she's upset. Sit down and have that conversation and just say, hey, this is really what has been in my heart as a dream that I really, really want to do. And I feel like as a mom, you want the best for your child. So if that's what you want, then I feel hopefully she will understand and come along the way. But you also have to make sure that you're making expectations that are, if she has a budget set and you want something way over the top and she can't do that, then you have to be understanding on that. But being honest,
Very true.
is the most important thing.
That's good.
That's really good. It's hard. Honesty's hard. Right?
It is.
But but then you will truly be happy though if you're honest,
Right?
And it might sting for a moment, like you said.
Yeah.
It could only sting for a little bit, and then okay, well, this is gonna make her happy.
Yeah.
and everyone's happy in general.
And at the end of the day, I don't remember. I don't look back and wish I had a different color on my cake, or I'm just so
trust
happy.
me. You don't think about all that. What did I tell all of you girls when you were getting married? It's just a party.
Yeah.
And if you can, for all the brides out there, remember, it's just a party. It really is. What matters is your marriage, not your wedding day. So wedding days are amazing. And all 4 of these ladies had beautiful, beautiful weddings, but they were all in each of their own little, how they loved it. But it was still just a party of people coming together to celebrate you. Right. So make it more about the marriage for the rest of your life, not the party of one day.
Yeah,
Agreed.
for sure.
Nice.
I love that. I hope that helped, Amanda.
Yes.
Okay. Next is from Mandy. She says, I am 24 and I dread going to family gatherings because I constantly get asked, why are you still single? When are you going to get married and settle down and have children? I'm loving being single and settling in my career and getting to travel. How do I get them to respect my decision?
Well, Candace, you were single well into your 30s, so why don't you answer that?
Well, I've been asked that question.
Yeah. Not by me.
Not by her.
Or Dad.
Or my dad. No, it's more my nanny.
Yeah.
No, and she's very innocent when she was asking and stuff like that. Very just platonic, just saying, why are you still, by yourself? Where's your man? About her man. I'm like, Manny, and you just need to be honest, Mandy. Just be honest with them and just say, like we were just talking about, it's okay to be single. Travel, have fun.
It's okay.
Have a blast. Because you only get to live this life once. And I want you to have a great chapter. And then you can be able to tell your children, oh, I've been here. I've been there. Yeah. And they can have the inspiration and, dreams. And you get to tell them oh, I've been there. You need to go, let's go do it as a family trip maybe one day. But it's okay. Yeah. And I understand people want you to get married at a certain age and all this. You don't have to. No. Just enjoy.
And some don't want to be married at all.
No. I have friends that don't want to get married
and it's
at
fine.
all. Yeah. One had a friend already been married once. I have multiple friends that have been married and want to either divorce or whatnot, but it's okay. Yeah. She loves it. She loves traveling. Yeah. She enjoys it. Yeah. It's part of life. And I say, if this is bothering you, she keeps bringing it up, you could just say, hey, I'm living my life how I want to. And I hope you're happy for me to live the life I want to live. Yeah. Right. Even if it's not on your timeline.
Yeah. That's good.
That's really good. The next one comes from Hannah. Hannah asks, we have a family member that consistently talks about how we should parent our child. It makes me feel judged. How should I handle this?
Ooh, Hannah. That is tough because, especially when you come from families like I do, where I have a massive amount of respect for my mom and my mother-in-law and both families. But I feel like typically when you're getting this stuff, it's normally from your mom or your mother-in-law because they've been a mother and they're just trying their hardest to help you. Right. Like that's really where it's coming from. So I think first understanding, okay, I have a respect for them and I know it's coming from a good place and it's coming from I was once their child and they're trying to help, or I'm raising their grandchild and they just want to help. Starting from there and knowing that it's not that they think that you are a horrible mom. Right. It's just out of love. Yeah. But then saying, okay, well, like for me, I am 28 and I am mom's youngest. And so there's this realization of the last time mom had a baby was 28 years ago. Right. And so, just look at the world in general. It's different than 28 years ago. So parenting is different than 28 years ago. So yes, for sure, you can take those moments of, hey, that's a really good point that you have, or I like that suggestion, but it's also okay to go, okay, just because you guys did that does not mean that now I have to do that. And me being a mom in my own right means that I have to say, I am the gatekeeper for my child. And I have to answer one day for my child as their parent. My mom's not going to have to answer for how I parented. My mother-in-law isn't going to have to answer. I have to answer that. And so if I disagree, that's okay. I can say respectfully, you know, I don't know that I agree with that, or that's a really good thought, but I think we're actually going to do this instead, because at the end of the day, like, that's on you. And so you kind of have to own that and be okay with the uncomfortable conversation.
And coming from being the grandmother, being Gigi, you're right. How I parented you and Candace, that was a long time ago, and things do change. And you and I talk about that a lot, where I'm like, I think he needs this. And you're like, Mom, they don't do that. Yeah. I'm like, really? I remember the first time you mentioned, I won't say the name, but there's you put on baby's teeth when they're teething. And you're like, no, Mom, I'm like, what? We don't use that anymore? That's how I lived. But we have to recognize as the grandparent that, number one, we raised amazing children. So let them be the amazing adults that we trained them to be. Let them grow. Let them that we didn't know what we were doing half the time, and we didn't have, as we like to refer to, YouTube University, and we didn't have all of that. And I think, how did I do that?
I also think, how did you do that? The fact that Mom will be like, oh yeah, we just like, y'all came out and we put you in your own room and there were no monitors and I'm like, so you just were like, hope you live, see you in the morning. Like, I'm so confused by that. My baby has like a sock around its foot that has its like heartbeat. I got a camera. It's next to me. Like, I'm like, I literally don't get it.
And it is different for us to look and go. And we have to be very careful as the older generation to not assume that our way was the right way. It was the right way for us as we raised our children, but you may do it different. Doesn't mean we don't still have wisdom to instill, guidance. But we have to understand that if we can't go lay them in the room because it doesn't have a sock or the monitor, we got to be all right with that.
But I think in the same respect, like, we also have to say, you know, I have to respect what my mom brings to the table, what my mother-in-law brings to the table, because they raised X amount of children
and did a good job.
Here. So I can't, I lived. So I can't just say, oh, well, that was, you know, the olden days. So now I'm going to do whatever. That's it's taking everything with a grain of salt and then saying, okay, but at the end of the day, when I have to answer for this, you know, what am I going to say for that? And that's really.
And to add on that is like, I took it as too, like, you got to think about like we were all made specifically to parent our child, right?
Exactly.
Like, I know my Kingston more than anybody else. I know when he looks a certain way that tear is about to fall, right? And so it's like, not saying that as a grandmother you don't, but that's not ingrained in you, and the gift given to you by God Himself, right? Exactly. And so like, just being on that and be able to explain, like, listen, like, mom-in-law, like, you did a wonderful job with me because you knew me. Right. I am a part of you and you knew me.
So
but I know him. You know? And so
and God gave you, I tell this to Felisha all the time, you know, because Maddie Grace is she is my mini-me, and that means tornado, and, you know, we're always right. But anyhow, but I have told Felisha from day one, because I remember when she was born, Trevor texted me, oh my gosh, this child goes from mad in seconds. And I thought, she just was born like 2 hours ago. No, she doesn't. Well, yes, she does. So, but I tell Felisha all the time, God picked you. You and Trevor were the perfect parents to parent her. And though I might have parented her differently, it's not my job to parent her because I'm not the one that's been left to raise her. You are. My job is to be supportive and loving and tell you how wonderful she is.
Exactly.
Thank you. I mean, I think she's great.
She's amazing.
I think about what you said about how we just know our kids. Anytime there's a baby that cries in church, the mom always knows when it's hers because you can know your baby's cry.
Yes.
And so I think I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Maddie. Or is that Maddie?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Maddie.
Yeah.
This next question is, Kaylee. How do I navigate holidays and starting my own traditions with my little family without upsetting my parents in the way I grew up doing?
Well, so, you like holidays.
I love holidays. So I grew up, I said in the beginning, my family was divorced, and then both my parents, their families were divorced. So holidays for us meant
a lot of moving.
A lot of moving. I mean, like the movie Four Christmases, like we went to different houses, and it was just, I remember being a kid and just being so tired. When I opened up Christmas presents here, I couldn't play with them. I had to wait for them.
Yep.
Get here, wait for them. And so for Trevor and I, when we came together, we had Chasen. He already had Chasen. And so we made that from the very beginning where Trevor doesn't understand divorce.
No, because he never had to do that.
About
exactly.
That.
So I had to explain to him how I felt with that. So with Chasen, we talked to his mom and we came to an understanding. We wouldn't split the holiday for the day. We'd split it for the year. So if we had him on Christmas this year, we had him the whole Christmas.
Nice.
Next year, she would get it. And with my family, I didn't want to travel because I've traveled so much. So we just, I had that hard conversation. And let me tell you, it was not easy.
Yeah.
It hurt them. It hurt me seeing them hurt. But I knew that for my family, I didn't want to put my kids through having to travel and go to all these places and just miss out on what a special time this truly is because I was too scared to voice how I was feeling and setting that standard and that boundary. And now we do it great. My kids get days of Christmas.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Which,
because
they love that anyway.
I take each family member and we do it on this day with you. And you get the whole day and you get all of us. And
right. And you're not having to hurry and leave.
Exactly.
Right.
But it didn't happen overnight. It truly took patience. And I think that's where boundaries comes in. We have to know with our spouse what we want to set and the standards we want to set, what's important to us. Then we have to communicate that with the people that we love and know that they're probably not going to take it well at first.
No. And it's going to be hard.
Because it's hard to give up the tradition that you did in your family forever. It's hard to give that up. It's hard to let go and say, okay, I have to let Alyssa go to her other families, but it's unfair if we don't do that, So it's you make the expectation, explain it, and then it'll work.
So I think with that, we have to be patient. We have to know that this isn't going to change overnight. And, sometimes it's okay to seek help, whether it's professional help, like talk this through with someone, talk it with a very close friend. If you have a therapist, like talk to her about it. They can help you walk through this situation in a way that's very, very graceful. And honestly, I know it sounds so cliche every time we say it. Talk to God about it. Like, God, help me, because we can't change people's hearts, but the Holy Spirit can. And we have to give that to Him and know that He knows our hearts and He knows what's best for us.
Very true.
So good.
And hopefully that there'll be understanding of that over time and respectful.
I say, because it's change. Nobody does well.
Nobody wants to change.
And coming as people coming into a bigger family, because from our perspective, it's like, not everybody gets the same amount of time and the same amount of energy, and to be graceful in that and knowing that there are feelings that are going to be hurt and that's not always going to, play out the right way, but to be intentional on the time that you do spend together, and making those, the question that she had asked was, just how to make that all work together, but just being intentional with the times that you are with those people and making traditions, new traditions.
Right.
Yes.
And they know that it's not that you don't want to be there. You're just choosing to do it this way, and we're going to celebrate on a different day.
Yeah. I think too, even if that's not a boundary that you set from the beginning, like you guys did, things do change in life and children are at different ages. And so there might just be a time where you're like, okay, I know we did that for X amount of years, but my husband and I, we've talked about this and this is now how we want to proceed. That's okay too. If that boundary wasn't set from day one.
Yeah. Because we ran around when Candace and
All the
Brandon
time.
were little. But by the time we did with Trevor some, but by the time you were here, we weren't running around anymore.
Yeah.
It was like, okay.
It was a lot when you're young.
Because, right, your kids wake up, you have Christmas, okay, get dressed, we got to go. And, it was tough. So trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm a people pleaser.
I think all of us at this table are. Well, Mom, I think that's it for boundaries.
Awesome. Well, great job, Flea. So we want you to continue the conversation and put in the comments anything that you want us to know or keep the conversation going. Go to our website where you can also ask us questions and sign up for our free newsletter so that you can stay in the know. But we just wanted to encourage you and to remind you that you are doing a great job. You can do this and you're doing a great job. And we're so glad that you come and hang out with us every week. So we'll see you next week.